Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I'm Evil Mike, or Mike if you prefer, and I got a review for you. This is going to be Detective Comics issue number 27, and this is the Facsimile edition. I just picked this up about a week ago. I've been wanting to review this, and for good reason. Getting into this book, honestly, I can tell you right there before, I'm a huge Batman fan, but most of my bad knowledge comes from many different sources and not only the comics. A lot of it is the comics, but from me, honestly, I didn't actually get the chance, or I've never had the chance to read Gold and Silver, Bronze. I have read some issues here and there, more Bronze and Silver, but pretty much my bad knowledge starts a little before Nightfall back in the day in the 90s. I read a lot of Super Friends, a lot of Justice League, stuff like that, but it was very spotty. It was what my grandparents and some other family members would hand to me, but growing up I was more into Marvel than I was DC. It wasn't until, like, I want to say I got into my later teens, something like that, is when I really started digging into DC. It's a lot grittier, a lot more adult, and this guy right here, I appreciate that. Okay, so long explanation out of the way. This is Detective Comics issue number 27, and the significance is this is the first appearance of Batman way back in the day. Now this is a facsimile edition. It does look like the real thing. It has all the real advertisements that the real book had. The major difference right here is that it has a new barcode on it that the real book would not have. Plus that, there's no way possible I'd have this book. This book's like $1 million, even for like, I don't know, but it's a very pricey book. We're talking about the first appearance of Batman. A book that I've wanted to read for a long time. And honestly, a huge letdown, because I did not know that this book was like this. I've been reading Detective Comics probably since the 90s, okay, but it's all Batman. Back in the day when they were doing Detective Comics, now this is issue number 27, kind of like Amazing Fantasy with 14 and Spider-Man. They weren't in the book before then, so what was this book before then? It was a bunch of short collected stories, basically about detectives. Hence Detective Comics. After Batman's rise and this and that, they did get away from the whole like pulp fiction kind of style of Detective Comics, but basically this book has more in common with like Dick Tracy or The Shadow or something like that, but we'll get there. The review part of it is kind of like the letdown part of it. Now this is not a bad book at all. Honestly, I only read a little bit of this book and I'll show you why. Originally written by, who was it? Bob Kane and Bill Finger. We got Batman, and it basically starts out with Batman, you know, having a chill kind of, you know, sit down with Commissioner Gordon. At this time, nobody in the world knows who Batman is. It's just basically Bruce Wayne. While they're sitting there chilling, and literally chilling, like smoking cigars and stuff over here, Commissioner Gordon gets a call about a burglar that just went down, about some Lambert and some characters. They do turn out to be bigger things, but for this issue it's basically like some guys that were trying to rob a certain businessman. Commissioner Gordon and the police try to make it to the scene. Batman actually gets there before. He ends up stopping all the crooks with just normal means, you know, like punches, kicks, a couple throws. There are no batarangs, there are no grapple hooks. As you can see here, Batman's original colors were black, gray, blue, yellow, purple, and his mask was a little different. He actually had like sideburns that kind of like made up the, I don't know if the camera's gonna catch it, but Batman actually had sideburns that made up like the other half of the mask. Like, it does look like his mask goes like that, but when he actually turns to the side, you can actually see, and this is kind of a better picture right here, but you can actually see that he's got hair that's coming out that makes up that part of the mask. It's a little different to see. And we all know Batman evolved over the years, but this was Batman's first appearance. But basically he does thwart the criminals before the cops get there. Eventually, it's kind of plain and dry. He thwarts the criminals before the cops get there. The cops get there all surprised that the criminals have already been caught. As it's going down, like, you know, Batman kind of like, he does end up like kind of leaving out of a sunroof before the cops get there, and that's kind of how the book ends. Besides the fact that it does reveal that like who Batman is, because it shows him going to Bruce Wayne's home, and that's kind of the very first reveal of, you know, who Batman was. So this story is only 3 pages of the book, and it's not exactly the way I kind of spanned it, but basically that's what it is. It's basically Batman stopping some minor criminals. You know, it's basically some businessmen that are trying to kill another businessman to get his side of the business. Batman thwarts it, and that's kind of the end of the story. Now the rest of the book, this is, I think it's a 64 page book. So the rest of the book, and there's very minimal advertisements in this book, but basically, like every 2 pages, it's another story. Like this one, I forget what it's called. It's called Tenderfoot. I thought that's what it was called. And I actually read this one. I didn't know what it was about or whatever, or anything else beside. But it basically, the whole rest of the book, like the next page, we got the, what is it? The Speed Saunders, you know, and it's just different type of detective stories. Whether it's very kiddie, like the what was it, Lightfoot. We got Buck Marshall. We got a kind of like a you know, Western detective style story. I love the colors here though. The only thing that I kind of saw significant was the very last story in the book. If I can find it, but the very last story in the book is actually written by the same creators of Superman. It's written by the Joel Shuster, and it is not a Superman story. As far as I know, I've never heard of like Bob Kane or Bill Finger doing anything else other than Batman. And the same thing goes with Joel Shuster. I've never heard of him doing anything else besides Superman. And I'm sorry, that is Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. I need to get that right, because there's always 2 people that make up these, you know, don't forget that. But this is the comic that the other, it's a like 2-page story in here. It is called Slam Bradley. I'm pretty sure there's some Golden Age people out there like Jerry the Jitterbug or whatever. You're like, yeah, we know that. I did not. I've never seen another story either written by Jerry's, you know, by the Superman creators, or for that matter the Batman creators. I've never seen another story done by them. I'm pretty sure they're out there because they didn't just get like super lucky and just automatically great Superman or automatically great Batman, but who knows. But basically that is, this book is a whole bunch of different detective stories, about 1 to 2 pages long. Detective Comics, the Detective Comics that we know, Batman, makes up the first 3 pages, and the whole rest of the book is a whole bunch of short stories. But that is the very first appearance of Batman, Detective Comics, issue number 27. That's my review. I'm sticking to it. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Please like, comment, subscribe. I know this wasn't a super lengthy review, but maybe you learned something. I did. I didn't know, you know, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster writing other stories and stuff like that. Actually, I kind of flipped through there, so there might be some other, you know, stories that are written by famous people, that are maybe a Jack Kirby, you know, who knows. But hey, I will see y'all later. I have some more reviews coming later on this week, maybe later on tonight. I have no idea, but we'll get there. Alright, bye!